speakers. We have heard the different points of view or the different topics that they've expressed. I would have loved if somebody else is sort of moderating this discussion. But I think it's time for questions or comments on the topics so far discussed. We have roving microphones for people. I think what I'll just do is I'll recognize you, you speak your name and address your question to me and I'll direct it.
From Imo State, and I reside in the Republic of Ireland. I have a comment and not a question. When I was in secondary school, in primary school in the late 70s/80, I remember one of the days Obasanjo was passing through and called us leaders of tomorrow. Today I'm heading to 40 or what I don't think I love it. When is my tomorrow?
To me, I think what our generation should be clamoring for is the practical principle of democracy, not just imposition of candidates by the so-called political parties. So I just want you to address us how this medium, how this imposition and selective of candidates could be corrected so that have not Nigerians with vision, with good intention to bring sanity to the political system and governance of Nigeria could be given chance to get to the place and do something for us.
My question goes directly to Benedicta. You were talking about giving the youth power, how youths have been used as thugs, and you want to change. You think it's high time to change that mindset. How can you change the mindset? How can you give them the power and expect them to act any better than what they used to know? Thank you very much.
Mr. Uza, and the question, if I may paraphrase, is why did the PDP-led House of Representatives try to frustrate the constitutional transfer of democratic powers to the now President Goodluck?
First of all, I want to say that there is no society that practices politics without forming political parties. The base of political activities has to come from political party. On that premise, PDP is existing as a big party in Nigeria. PDP is constituted by members who are your brothers and sisters. They are Nigerians like you. And I want to also remind you that PDP has the best manifesto any party has been able to dose out in Nigeria. The practice of that, and if you look into the PDP constitution, it's people-based, people-oriented. Everybody is covered. You are invited to be part of PDP. The PDP government, I want to remind you also that it is in the same PDP government that you had a Minister of Information who unraveled what was happening with Yaradua. You will have to give that to PDP. If you remember the role that the Minister of Information played. So PDP all along has always tried to give out these policies to ensure that the governance in Nigeria is smooth and acceptable.
I think the PDP question is actually quite provocative. I find it very interesting. And we have a member of the Board of Trustees of PDP sitting in our midst. So why don't you answer the question, Your Excellency?
The question about when the president was ill and what was going on, if you read papers correctly, you will see that the problem was not a PDP issue. It was not a PDP issue. The actors may be people in PDP. I mean, some of the actors, but not really a PDP issue. When they talked about the cabal and so on and so forth, these are a group of people who were working around the president. And for some curious reason, the reason for their actions have not been disclosed. But I will also take this opportunity to explain that political parties in Nigeria, see, we are all the same type of people. whether you're PDP, you have what AD said. AC, see what is happening. People who did not have the opportunity they wanted in PDP absconded, form new parties. They go there quarrel, they come back to PDP. People don't know how to be losers in Nigeria. People don't know how to be credible opposition. You see, what we are doing today is historic. And by the way, I'm going to institutionalize it. Democracy Day will be celebrated in Ireland every 29. If I am still in office 29th of May next year, it will be celebrated in a bigger way. And we are going to invite other people.
There's a question there for Bumi Salako, and I know Bumi, you have enough to say, that be kind to the rest of the panel. Thank you.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say is that there should be attitudinal change, among all Nigerians, not oppositions alone. There's nothing bad in godfatherism. If it's I would put it as political mentor, not a godfatherism. That is what I will use. There's nothing wrong in it if it is well channeled. I don't believe in selection myself, because if we are talking of democracy, we should talk, like I said, of the internal democracy first before we even talk of any other democracy. And I believe federalism should be our key word. And I don't mean that lightly. We should be Nigerians first before we think of which party we belong to, or what we are actually, the affiliation we have. I don't believe in what is happening, and it's not in AC alone. It's in all the political parties in Nigeria. And until we change that attitude, we need to make the political offices less attractive, because this is what is, getting people into what is happening right now, into corruption, into looting and everything. So we need to look into that.
The last question here is for Benedita. Actually, the question is about how to change the mindset of youth and reorient them. Benedita, you will be brief.
I will. Thank you very much. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Be the change you want to see." So, in changing the mindset of young people, in terms of democracy in Nigeria, I would say people should lead by example. When a statement like "the young people of Nigeria cannot lead Nigeria" is credited to an ex-military dictator, then I wonder, where we are going. That kind of statement is what reinforces the same old in our political dialogue. I listened to Mr. Benamobi once, and he said, if you call a stubborn child, by that name, that you are a stubborn child, you don't listen to what I say and all that, the child would leave that name. But if you call a stubborn child a good child, they will see the child will begin to live a good life. So the names that young people have been called in Nigeria is one of, oh, he's a thug, he's in a secret cult. But these young people do not deliberately go into these acts. They are sponsored, they are pushed by the political class, by people who are in their 60s and 70s and have been recycling in the wine of politics, in the wine bottles of politics in Nigeria for donkey years. Like somebody said, when is my tomorrow going to come? My tomorrow is today in Nigeria. Your tomorrow is today.
Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, mine is not a question, it's just a comment. Now that there are indices you will use to really determine if somebody is an honest leader or not. You all will agree with me that power belongs ultimately to God and then to the people. Even though some people try to snatch it, but it is God that gives the power, and it is the people that support somebody to become a leader. There is a difference between a ruler and a leader. especially a leader who has appointed himself and a leader who has been appointed by the people. I've studied a little about our current incumbent and president, Goodluck Jonathan. Right from the time he was the deputy governor of his home state, he never wanted to become a governor. If you followed the history of how things happened, it just became that he saw himself as a governor. The same thing repeated when he was the vice president. If you study the whole political scenario, you will discover that he never wanted to be president until eventually he now saw himself as president. I see the hand of God in his life. And I see the hand of God through him on Nigeria. And one of the things he has done since he became president, I've been very much excited by that. You need to go to Abuja today. If you look around, you'll be very, very proud to be a Nigerian with what happened there. But I felt a little bit bad when at the point, Nigerian sons who did Nigeria proud, so they're running away as fugitives. And I knew that there was a problem somewhere. But with the emergence of Jonathan, there has been a sort of restoration in our country. What am I talking about? Some of those fugitives are beginning to come back. People like El Rufai. You could see how Nuhu Ribatu has been restored. Those are the indices you will look at, and you will know whether a leader is going to deliver or not. I think I am very much persuaded within me. And I want to encourage everybody to give Nigeria support. Sometimes opportunities come. If you lose them, you may not get them back again. So please, I think this is the opportunity Nigeria has to rise to the next level. It doesn't matter whether it is from the east, or from the north, or from the west. We don't want to know where the person is coming from. So long as you will deliver democracy and its benefits to all Nigerians, you can come from anywhere.
The ambassador has asked all the questions around the PDP and Keba, so I will ask somebody, maybe a fellow journalist like yourself, Chinedu, who might have something to say here very briefly around the question about about the Keba.
It's very sad that all of them around him basically were selfish, including how his wife. She was the architect of the hotel. Personally, I believe that the federal government should sue her. But moving forward, I also want to use this, medium to say that the issue of good governance, democracy, positive, society, civil society, whatever it is, unless you strengthen the roots, the policies, programs, legislations, and then inculcate in people the positive aspect of life, there's not going to be any future for us. Since I was born, politics has been the same. It used to be very interesting in the sense that you could get entertainment, you get entertained, listening to the speeches, the acrobatic displays in those days. But today it's about violence. But political parties as well as politicians, they are always be the same. If you doubt me, read Chinua Achebe's A Man of the People. Achebe's A Man of the People was very, very prophetic. Before the present system came into place, he prophesied through his book what was going to happen in the Second Republic. Look at the First Republic, look at it. Read it very well. You would understand that the problem in Nigeria did not start yesterday. It didn't begin with Yarabla, it didn't begin with Obasanjo. So it's been there from time. Thanks.
On the present dispensation, mentioning the President Goodluck tenure as an opportunity, can I ask Adimora Ene to respond to those comments?
Obviously, we all know that we feel for Nigeria is very great. But one important thing is not just to single out and breast it out as one state, but I thought there has been a very dramatic shift in terms of how democracy is actually being nurtured in Nigeria. Obviously, it was just a baby that was born just a few years back. It has to take necessary steps in trying to learn how to walk and how to fend for itself. And I think if we can be very supportive of the, the project that the President has put in place, that we all will be stakeholders in trying to sustain the political process, and that we begin to tear walls of dichotomy, of nepotism and segregation. Those walls that will make you think that you are from the north or from the south or from the east. Once we can speak out and break those barriers, and we all can feel the same blood as Nigerians and think the same way as Nigerians, we all share the same, guilt when we are called names outside Nigeria. We all share the same glory when we, win, for example, football matches or something like that.
The question there also, this is to align on their job to reform. You talked about it very briefly in your presentation, but you don't want to ask a question about the system of ballot.
Electoral reform. Now, if you want to have, what is electoral reform? I remember the judgment mentioned Anambra. The only reason why Anambra, the result of Anambra came out, was because President Jonathan did not interfere. The cause of our problem is politicians. But when politicians, people in government start interfering with the position of INEC, there's no way we have credible election. So the Excellency will talk because she's a politician, she will advertise her and all that. Yes, because she's a politician. Ballot boxes, we have option A4. What happened to option A4? It was inconclusive. Now, if you have e-voting, I can tell you, with what we have, with our youth, it will still be inconclusive. So there must be the will. We must have the act to say that this election must be credible. But one man, one vote, it must be there. Otherwise, my brothers and sisters, whether you use ballot boxes, whether it is inside the room, it will not work.
The issue here is tolerance, which we don't have. Her Excellency spoke about credible and strong opposition, which is right. That's what you see in advanced democracies. We don't have it. Once you oppose the government, either they try to do the removing power, or they set you up by bringing one fraud or the other. This happened during Jobo Kadibo's era, and we all knew what happened. So what I'm talking about is that we have to be tolerant. That's one of the bases of democracy.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sato Suma. I just want to quickly say, I thought it was going to be more democracy, about democracy. I think I don't know, with all due respect, it's more about Goodluck Jonathan going to the second term. So I just really want to direct my question to on electoral reforms, on one votes, and then the violence aspect of it. Because I would think that how would we ensure one vote if we don't even know how many people are in Nigeria? I could say how many people would actually have a birth certificate in Nigeria or register of birth, and it would still go in to say who's a youth. How do you know who voted? How can you tell whether he's allowed to vote or not? Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, Dr. Mrs. Kemako Chikwe, panelists. My question is for Mrs. Bumi Salako. Yeah, you made a point that one of the ways of moving democracy forward is to make the political offices less attractive. Please, could you give us some suggestions as to how this is to be achieved, apart from the reduction of their remuneration in office? Thank you.
One of the first questions is about tolerance.
Cleanliness. Tolerance has been mentioned here today, but if you don't mind, I want to address it. I want to answer the man there with cap. I can't take his name. Chike. Thank you, Chike. He's been the only person that has mentioned or emphasized the importance of meeting, and he kind of turned the ambassador for bringing about this meeting today. Before I go into tolerance, because I tolerate people very much, and I know we do tolerate each other, But there's something about us, Nigerians in diaspora, in Ireland, and in other parts of the world. We don't always rise up to our responsibilities. Do you all agree with me? I wonder if you would disagree, that we are a very powerful force.
Your Excellency, today somebody said this is more about good luck, Jonathan, than democracy. You have a response to that. And also, I know you are itching to comment on something Nika said earlier.
Nika and I are actually on the same side, except that I'm the practical one and the Eurogotri. So, and I think I'm very rarely practicing politician among you. So it will be wrong if I don't give you the benefit of my experience at any given moment. Now, you see, everything you have said today, honestly, I am so excited. A lot of people have touched on everything, but different things. But let me tell you, the problem we have in our country is if you go back to the Bible, God said, I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God. Thou shalt have no God before me. When we decided to have two gods in our country, that's the actual God and money, we run into conflict. All this struggle for power, position, even the speakers themselves, everybody is guilty. And that is the truth. The issue of election, it's not easy, this snatching ballot and so on, it's not an ideal situation. Quite frankly, what I said and what I keep saying is that everybody is guilty of it, in one way or the other. And that's why everybody is saying that we must also stop it, because it has led us nowhere. What is important for me today is the future, not the past. Because, for instance, this is the first time you're gathering like this in Ireland, is it not? Yes. So why are we coming here to discuss the past and not the future? And we should also know, Shakespeare said, the fault is not in our stars, but in ourselves. Even living here in Ireland, how are we living? What is our contribution to make our nation great? That should be our primary focus. The issue of voting, ballot or no ballot, or method of voting, to be honest with you, even electronically, like somebody said here, you saw what happened in the Bush election. But what is important is to install the structures of government and the structures of election, so that there are consequences for every bad behavior or anything that is not in the Constitution. Let me tell you, there's no party there. But the I have my opponent here, but we will slug it out. No, but what they are saying about foreign constituencies, so you know, some of these things are constitutional issues, and the National Assembly and so on. But the pressure the diaspora Nigerians are putting is very good, and we have to sustain it until we are allowed to exercise our citizens' rights in voting, and that has to be approached responsibly.
I believe I agree with Ms. Sanako. There needs to be political mentoring for the youth, not godfatherism. I don't know if you guys have heard about the Enough is Enough movement, the marches that were taken by the youth to the National Assembly and various places in Abuja, and also the Light Up Nigeria movement. I'm 23 years old. When I was born, there was no stable electricity. Today, there is still no stable electricity. That is the problem. We're not asking for much. We're asking for the basics. The basics that, that for us to do things ourselves.
We all talk about democracy. Democracy is about good governance and how to do your people. And if you don't have your people in your heart, how are you going to rule those people? Democracy starts from the community in which you represent. The failure of democracy or good governance in Nigeria started from
people you rule, you don't know them and they don't know you.
It's not a question, it's just a comment about electoral reforms, or that Nigerians should be given the power to vote abroad. Now, despite our good democracy in South Africa, we would think so, but we, diaspora and South Africans abroad, campaigned for many, many years. They fought very, very hard to get the right to vote. And only in the past elections, they had the right to vote. So I will encourage Nigerians abroad to put pressure on the government so that they should get the same right as well to vote abroad. It won't happen by just mourning around the corner and not doing anything. It won't happen. You have to lobby the government and campaign on this issue. Now, I hope this is not the last one. And as a proud Nigerian, thank you very much.
Two things I would like to take away from this gathering. One, Nigerians are desperate for responsible leadership as well as responsible followership. And we are all agreed that each and every one of us has a role to play. Secondly, I think we have a lot of hope in the leadership of the president for what has happened before and now that is in office. And listen to speakers. What is important to them is not where you come from in Nigeria. It's how Nigeria can be a better place for all of us. And I think speakers seem to feel that this respite we have now, it will be a good idea, it will be good, and they will support our promoting it further for the president to go ahead and consolidate the Nigerian government, especially as he has international support. What we want the next few years, 2011 and beyond, is we want electricity like the young girl up there said. She's 23. She's not used to having steady electricity, but we don't want our children to experience the same thing. Fortunately, the president has promised that he will focus on electricity. The Niger Delta issue, which has really, really disturbed our nation. Because all the sabotage, everything, if you look at the turbulence in Nigeria, even when I was young, the Niger Delta issue started a long time ago, during the time of Adaka, even before the war. And now, we are seeing a light in the tunnel. I think we should really project it and consolidate it. So I appreciate the presence of everybody here and the contributions they have made. And we believe that the way President Jonathan is going, Nigerians are going to give him maximum support to continue to lead this Nigeria with his intellectual, political style. And let's see, for a change, if we will stop grieving about things that are wrong with Nigeria. All he needs to do is to build on where his predecessors have started.